Right, very good afternoon to all our viewers and warm welcome to Sanjeev. How are you doing?
Yeah, hi. I'm doing good. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for joining us here today. And we appreciate you taking time off during your weekend. So yeah, this is a bit of that. We have you kind of go down the memory lane with the alumni, and somewhere I think there's a lot of interesting tales that come up because of how much you have
Okay. Mhm.
seen during these years, right? So, would you like to begin, Sanjeev, by an introduction?
Yeah, thanks, Nikhil. Thank you for your time. And thank you for providing me the opportunity as well. So that's a great opportunity. Yeah. So hello everyone. Good afternoon. This is Sanjeev here. I do have a total of 17 years of experience overall. I started my journey. In fact, I completed my engineering in 2006, and then I started my career around 2007 in IT industry, or an application developer. Okay. So from there, I started my journey. It's a small startup company where I started my journey, and from there, the ladder starts. The application program management, and then I started growing towards the architect and all those things. So I had been working in the IT industry almost during that time. It was almost 70 years, 7 to 8 years of experience. I then realized that so application is not only the stuff we have to learn something on the data as well. So where I would like to concentrate upon application plus the database, like a full stack. Okay. So that was one of my key aspiration. Then I started realizing that, do I need to take course, or do I need to take some extra trainings and all those things. So that's when I realized that, DataMites is one of the institutes where I have taken data science and data analysis courses and all those things. So the reason why I'm highlighting that is so that's all about, let me complete about stuff. Okay, then I'll come to the points. So then I have taken the course, and over a period of time, I gradually shifted my from an IT development, from a start to a data analyst portion. So data analysis is a vast industry, as everyone knows. So it's not only about data; it's all about the decision making, predictive analytics, and all those things. So that was not there in terms of application and all those things. Okay, so there was a shift for me. So from an application developer to a data science, or a data analysis and all those things. That was not that easy, because having of uh, 10 years of experience, shifting of a career by taking a course, it's not that easy, because the expectation over the industry is in a different level. Okay, so all those things, it came as a challenge, and then I've taken multiple courses like DataMites and all those things. So that helped me a lot. Okay, so with this, I'm in this industry now with the data analysis. So that's a fair background of my this thing. Okay, so coming to my journey, towards the careers and all those things, like why I have chosen data and all those things. So a lot of people ask, so what is this data all about? That's a great question. So data, yeah, everyone knows that. Okay, data is really available. What is that big about data? So think about anything. For example, if you open any Netflix or anything as Ola, Uber, or any after OTT platforms or anything, the moment you open that, it predicts based on the suggestion that you have searched on the past. Okay, so that will make life easier for you, and also the time consumed over a period of time to search for something, that will make easier. Like, for example, think about it can be of Ola, Uber. Like every day you are commuting from same source to a same destination. So the moment you open the app on the next day, it says that, okay, this is the fare that is been approaching, and then would you like to book for that, like the same destination. So that will be easier when it comes to data. So all about what I'm saying is, okay, the data that we store, in any format, okay, it could be JSON or anything, so people tend to reuse that. Okay, so and they, based on that, we have to predict the data, and also tell that, okay, this is the data that we have to showcase to the users. Like it's not something rocket science, right? So we have to predict the data, whatever is existing the data, and that data using that we can predict all those things. So now that we have a lot of GPTs and all those things, anytime that you are stuck or something like that, you can leverage that, right? So I mean, it's not that completely ChatGPT is the ownership, but definitely like as an individual, I would suggest like take a course, and then whenever you're stuck or something, use the ChatGPT. Okay, so that's where I tend to use all those things like tools and new technologies and all those things, because new technology is always emerging in terms of like a data or like AI is coming into the picture. Like okay, so AI will definitely not be 100% replaceable. Like, but there will be some kind of a decision making and all those things which a human interaction is required. So that is something like okay. So identifying the problem statement and applying those technologies to solve the problem statement is one of the key criteria. So that's where I would suggest like okay, like do something extra out of the data. Like okay, whatever the things that you apply on the data, like oh, you learn something, try to do something extra out of it. Like okay, so rather than asking like okay, why can't we achieve like this, why can't we do that, it's challenge yourself. And then like that's a challenge that will gain into the momentum to the next level and all those things. So I'm here as an example because I, as a program like application developer, I never had been as a data. Like okay, now I'm been doing all of PySpark. Like okay, I'm doing a data engineering work and all those things. Like, so that's where like I will take as a like. So learning is always there. Lifelong is a learning. Okay, so every day is a new learning. So you cannot sit back and say that okay, I learned everything. No, it's not the case. So learn and then try to apply things. So that's where you get some enthusiasm and all those things to make sure that okay, everything is been tracked, or like okay, if you want to apply new things, or if you want to open your own company, so that will make your life easier and all those things. So that's where I would say like okay, so why data and why to apply data and all those things. Okay, these are some of the key things which I would say. And also in terms of like okay, people who wanted to start their career in terms of data. Okay, I would suggest like there are three to four criteria, like not the criteria, like designations. I would say like okay, so data analyst is, as you know that okay, data analyst is the primary role which uh, people tend to get the data using Excel and all those things. Like okay, they formalize the data and they process that data for the next level, and also they do an analysis in the data. So that's where the data analyst exists into the picture. Okay, so now in that data analyst, there are multiple roles. Like okay, for example, when it comes to like the same data, whatever they are doing is an analysis, they would like to predict that, like what's the next step, like prediction and all those things. So that's about the data scientist. Okay, so data scientist is like okay, whatever the data that we have it, and like based on the previous history, what are we going to the predict at the next level? Like I have highlighted in the example about Ola, Uber, and all other platforms, right? Okay, so like that we can use it. Like that is one key skill, like or the key career path, which I would say is the data analyst. Okay, so and one more, the key, the core engine is about the data engineers. Okay, so data engineer is like it's an architect, like it's a data architect who builds the system and deliver the data fast and clean in terms of the quality and all those things. Like okay, how it comes is data analysis and data science, and all these things which comes as a data engineer. So data engineer will have to pass the data for anything that has to be predicted and all those things, and then finally it has to go to any of the visualization or any Power BI or Tableau and all those things. Like that's where you guys have to like plan it accordingly. Like suppose if you want to move your career towards data, like okay, so now that I have highlighted data analyst, data scientist, and data engineer, so now when it comes to UI is nothing but user interface, like so, like visualization. Okay, so we consider it data visualization. So in data visualization, whatever the data that we get it in like modeling and all those things that from the data science, like how do we put all those things together in Power BI or Tableau? So that's where the data visualization comes into the picture. Okay, so if you want to move ahead with the data, these are some of the key things that I would suggest to go upon, and none of the themes are like okay or that critical or sensitive. You guys can crack it and you can believe it and you can do that better. See, it's all about like how do you apply and where to apply and what to apply is the key matters here. Suppose if you are taking that, okay, data analytics as a key criteria, I would suggest go ahead and learn all these concepts and try to become a data engagement leader. So where data engagement leader is working all towards the various pillars like data science, data engineering, and data visualization. That's where you gain a lot of momentum and you get a lot of business expertise and also a lot of problem statement. How do we solve the problem statement? Because a lot of things are using data, like consider like supply chain, like Amazon, Flipkart, and all those things.
Right.
Without data, they cannot predict. So that's where like, okay, still there are a lot of problem statements lying. They need a lot of hands and all those things. Like in every industry, you consider every industry, everywhere data is correct. Like for example, think about like okay, as a human being, like everyone will have to go to doctor and all those things. We'll get some reports and all those. So nowadays, like people are tending towards like okay, how do I generate like how do I predict my diseases in future? Like okay, upload it in ChatGPT. ChatGPT will predict like and then tell about the critical illnesses in the next 10 to 15 years. That's where we are in now. Okay, I'm not saying that that will happen, but so based on that samples, they will predict something and show you like, okay, it will create some kind of an alertness and all those things. So people are tending towards that. Like, okay, so likewise, try to do something extra on top of it, like a lot of problem statements and use a lot of free data available inside within the market and try to leverage all those skills, talk to experts, talk to institutes and like connect with people with various industries and all those things. Learn a lot of stuff. So, okay, job industries is there. Like I know, like people are saying that okay, job industries is low and all those things. Don't worry about that. Like worry about the skill. If skill is there, definitely job will come to matter. That's where I would say like okay, so like these are some of the things which I would say in terms of a career aspirations and all.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
so yeah.
wonderful. I think you have a pretty vast in terms of the the covering of ideas and how we merge different disciplines. I think that's great advice for all those who are tuned in. So you mentioned Gen AI, Sanjeev, and how much you are finding ChatGPT useful, which we hear all the time, right, from
Mhm.
those who are yeah, involved closely with data. So
Okay.
somewhere with these tools that you have with Power BI and with the others, when you are getting quite a bit of insights from a Gen AI directly. Okay, so how is the integration happening in your opinion?
Okay.
Where
See,
where
that's a good question. That's a good question because yeah. So when it comes to ChatGPT, so ChatGPT will predict some like okay, and also like I would say like it's a good question. We should know how to put the question in ChatGPT. Okay. So based on our question, the chat GPT will predict something and it will show like, okay, it may not be like the exact thing, but however, we will have to take at least 50 to 60% of the chat GPT response and post that. We will have to do some massaging and all those things to get our resulting output and all those things. So I would say like, okay, at least earlier times, like people used to spend 4 to 5 hours to develop and all those things. Now that has been reduced to 1 to 2 hours, I would say, like because
right,
it's a 3 hours of effort that's been reduced. But however, the complete things will not be like removed because there is some human intervention always required, like in terms of manipulations and all those things, like for applying formulas and all. So definitely, ChatGPT can apply, but it will not be applicable for the business as you are aware of your business much more than the ChatGPT.
right.
Okay.
So to that point, so you kind of are you seeing the kind of way where we are bringing a localized version of these LLMs and somewhere tuning it to your own businesses. So we have a bit of that going on. So at any case, I think because we you began with looking at the key skills and honing your Python and Power
Yeah,
BI, all
yeah,
of
yeah.
those. So excuse me. So as we try to focus more on the basics, you did mention having a bit of challenges which you throw to yourself.
Mhm,
Right?
mhm.
How do you kind of experiment in a direction where you be able to prove this is going to be useful for a business?
Okay, yeah, that's again a great question. So challenges are there, as I said, right? Like, okay, so I can get to some kind of real-time examples where I had faced some challenges because I used to work with the supply chain industries in my current organization. So, there was an instance where like we used to get a lot of IoT data, like, okay, so from a machinery, like it's a continuous data which comes up, like, okay, as and when the shift starts, the data which comes up, and it's a streaming data. So whenever we get the data, like that's we should have a capability to read that data because it's a continuous data. And like, how do we read that data? Like, think about the data which is coming in and then predicting something which is on top of it at a real time. Okay, that's where the challenge comes in, right? Because reading all these times, we used to have some kind of a static data. So now that we have a challenging streaming data and which will be applicable only to that duration, and it will not be applicable during post 1 hour or 2 hours. It's not like that. Okay, it's a real-time analytics that we'll have to build in. So that's where we have faced a lot of challenges during that time, and I had utilized multiple tools like how people used to Google and all those things. Like I have used like a lot of chat GPTs and all those things like to leverage some of the key skills and apply on top of it, like streaming analytics and also. That's where some things which I would say that it's a learning skill, but definitely like learning will not stop. Like, okay, like that's like such challenges might come in at any point of time, right? So we'll have to keep on leveraging our skills and then apply it on top of it.
On top price. Wonderful. Okay. All right. Could you elaborate a little bit, Sanjeev? In since you've probably been to a few companies where you have tried out different things. In terms of how you have made your switches and what you have felt has aided you in making the a call for future, right? You decide to look at least the next 5 years. So how do you plan that?
Okay, yeah, good, good one. So definitely, so as I mean, currently I'm working with Honeywell. I like prior to this, I had been working with Tyco Electronics and Marlabs and also Technofort Industries and all those things where I was working with as like application developer, and then I switched my career somewhere like in full stack development and all those things. So I would say that okay, if you have aspirations in mind, like think that okay, I wanted to become a data enthusiast. Okay, so then that skill will automatically take you to the career that you would like to go. Okay, so but have some clarity. I would say that okay, have some clarity, and that clarity will make things better. Like because deciding upon like okay, so whether I have to go with application development or with the I mean the full stack or with the data, it matters a lot, right? So like if you are going towards an application development, go ahead. You're like okay, so you can there are a lot of opportunities on React and all those things. Like people are using a lot of JavaScript frameworks and all those things. If you're going for data science, like okay, if you're going for only the full stack, okay, go ahead with all the full stack, like learn like JavaScript libraries plus the databases, SQL, NoSQL, and a lot of things are there. And if you're going towards the data, as I said earlier, like okay, make towards some decisions either to data scientist or data visualization or like I mean like data engagement or something like that. So for all this, I would say that there are some skills like, okay, so suppose if you have to learn on the backend technologies, I would say like learn SQL, Python, all those things. Like those are some of the key skills that is required for all these analysis and all. So and when it comes to data visualization, Power BI, and Tableau is one of the key things. Like and also if you have to transform some of the data, like use some ETL tools like Alteryx or any other Informatica or any tools like readily available within the market. Try to utilize that and like bring up something which is smart.
Great, wonderful, great advice. And I think with a little bit more if we are looking at because you do talk about a lot that you are bringing to the table, and that there's a space of you speak from a space of passion, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when you have that kind of a team environment, you're often also having a lot of healthy disagreements,
yeah, yeah.
right? So because you have to convince people to come on board as well. So, any advice for for youngsters onto this path in terms of handling and working with people together?
Okay, yeah. So it's again a good question. Yeah, definitely. I, as a team manager, like I would say that okay, there are challenges in handling a team, like because not every team member are same, like compared to the other team member, right? So everyone will have their own strengths and all. But I would say that okay, build your skills first, like okay, and then like try to leverage. Like for example, if a manager assigns you something, like okay, try to not only do that, like do something extra on top of it. Like okay, suppose if you are doing some activity like okay like can we load this data from an excel to a sql or from an excel to some of the environment, like okay, don't directly go into an like a copy and then put it towards that. Use some leverages, like okay, use some tool, and what if that excel comes back and says so that okay, can this be done on an everyday basis? Okay, so use some kind of an automation tool or ETL tools to process that faster. So that makes life easier, and also like that builds some trust to your manager and says that okay, he or she can do all those things. Like okay, if you assign some tasks, he will be like he will build the quality tools and all those. So that's where like I would say that it's just a matter of timing, right? So I mean, like like suppose if you're taking 5 minutes, you're taking 1 hour to do or 2 hours to build all those things. Definitely, like people will agree for it, and then like have such concepts in your mind. Definitely, it will make your career grow.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you, Sanjeev. And I think with that yeah, I think we are looking at okay. I think it's not questions coming from the team side, but
Yeah,
it was really wonderful hearing your inputs and that the snippets from your journey. So thanks a lot for sharing with us, and
yeah,
all the best to you.
yeah. Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you for the opportunity for providing me all those things, and all the best, team. Thank you all.